I'm Tiffanie Robinson. I am a founder and a partner at the Jump Fund, an angel fund based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And along with my own personal deep desire to close the gender gap in business as well as investment, myself and my 5 amazing partners started the Jump Fund in 2013. And then in early 2014, we started our journey of intentionally investing in female-led companies to close the gender gap. So to give you some background, I have been starting companies for the last 7 years. The last 7 years, I've grown and built and sold 3 different companies, and was always constantly reinvesting back into my own companies. And I actually looked around the room one day, and I was like, man, there really aren't many other women doing this, like the whole entrepreneurship thing, the whole reinvestment thing. And then I thought to myself, well, like examining the playing field a little bit closer, if I wanted to go take investment from local investors, they were going to look identical to my peers, which was white men, old and young. So it turns out that I actually was not alone. So globally, we actually have a gender gap problem. Luckily, in the entrepreneurship world, women are on the rise. We have more women creating businesses every day than ever before in our history as a country. But unfortunately, it's the complete opposite on the investment side. Stats from 2013 showed that 12% of angel investors from around the world were female, and only 3% of venture capitalists were female. So that's a huge problem. And I think that shows that until we start changing the ratios of women in the investment world as well as the entrepreneurial world, our economy will never truly become more innovative. So we created the Jump Fund. And a part of what the Jump Fund is we are a $2.5 million angel fund, like I said, based in Tennessee, but we focus on investments throughout the Southeast, and we are focused on investing in female-led companies. And when I say female-led company, I actually mean a woman in the C-level status. The ideal team to us is actually a diverse team because diversity creates innovation. So one of our favorite teams that we've invested in, or one of my personal favorite teams, is a company called SuperFanU. And it is made up of a female CTO, a male biz dev guy, and then a male CEO. And they are doing great things. They all have unique, diverse backgrounds, and they are just a really great, diverse team. So throughout our time creating this diverse pool of money and bringing more money to the table in Chattanooga's investment scene, what I also noticed is that becoming more intentional in your investing can truly change not only the business community in your city, but it can also create so much more diversity and to add to the innovation of the companies that are coming out of your community. So I want to talk to you about 4 ways to be more intentional about your investments and or your team. So if you're an entrepreneur, maybe the investment piece doesn't apply to you, but maybe you're hiring for your team. How do you become more intentional about adding diverse talent to your company? If you're an investor, how do you become more intentional about adding diversity to your portfolio? Okay, so just real quick, everybody close your eyes. Close them. I can see you if you're not closing them. All right, I want you to think about Monday morning. It's Saturday right now. You're going to have tomorrow off. You're probably going to go out to the beach tomorrow onto your boat. I want you to think about walking into your office on Monday morning. Think about the Monday morning meeting that maybe you have every week to kick off the week with all of your team members. Now I want you to think about the room filled with your team members, and I want you to look around the table at your team members. All right, now you can open your eyes. What did your team members look like? What are their backgrounds? What are their unique stories that make them a diverse team member? What are they bringing to the table? I think one of the most important pieces of intentionally closing our diversity gap is taking a full inventory of who's around us and then thinking about how we start adding more people that aren't like us to the table. Because again, until we can start adding more diversity to our teams, to our portfolio, until we can start intentionally starting to close that gap, we will never truly reach true innovation. All right, the next step is opening your Rolodex. So whenever I have hired for my team, I typically go to my network and I say, so I've got this job open. Can you tell me anyone that you know that might be a qualified candidate? Does anybody else do that? Okay, a few of you, some of you, all right. So that worked for a little while, and then surely enough, over time, I noticed that the people that were being sent my way by my trusted network were people that looked a lot like me or seemed to have very similar backgrounds to me. And this was pretty ironic because, I'm getting all these people that are a lot like me. I should really want to hire them and bring them into my team. But again, hiring people that are just like me doesn't really start solving the problems of my company or help me start building a better company. So what I've started doing, and this has actually proven to work really well, I've started doing this over the last year. Whenever I have a job opening, I call my trusted network, I email my trusted network, and I say, send me every candidate that you know that has skill sets X, Y, and Z, but I want you to tell me what female candidates do you know that have those skill sets? What African American candidates do you know that have those skill sets? What Hispanic, what Indian, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tell me what diverse candidates you know that have these skill sets, and I want to talk to them first. Because again, until we can start adding more stories and adding different backgrounds and just different walks of life into our teams, we're truly holding ourselves back from building the best team possible. And I think that completely applies to investors' portfolio companies as well. How can you start finding the most diverse candidates to add into whatever company or network it is that you're building? So get in the zone. So this one is really simple. It simply means go where the talent is. So maybe you're building a company and you want to truly create more diversity on your team. One of the easiest ways to do that is to just simply go where the talent is. So you want to hire a female to become your new COO? Go to the top universities that have the highest female graduation rates. Go to the female professional groups that are here in Tampa and go find those really great candidates that are in this pool of candidates that are your unusual suspects. You probably weren't going to run into them before, but now you're putting yourself in a zone where you're needing people that are different from you, that have a different walk of life and are carrying a different skill set than what you probably have. Same with investment. If you want to truly break up your portfolio and really start bringing in some diverse, disruptive companies, start looking into industries that you know nothing about. Bring in some female teams, bring in some female entrepreneurs to pitch to your company, but first, you might want to go research the industries that women are disrupting. Women are the top consumer in our country. They know a lot about stuff that people want to buy. It's pretty simple, right? And my last and fourth point is just, look inside yourself. As human beings, we all suffer from bias. And there's nothing that we can do about it other than acknowledge the issue and to really start thinking, how can we intentionally solve the business bias that our country suffers from? I think that, again, and I've said it before, but until we really start acknowledging that our companies are looking the same, our portfolio companies are looking the same, then we have to really start acknowledging the fact that as human beings, we have a natural tendency to have a bias toward people that we don't understand or that we don't look like, and we have to change that. So, over the last few years, especially since we've started the Jump Fund, we've made some radical improvements in our own business community. We brought $2.5 million that was completely left on the table to the investment scene. And now, Chattanooga alone, actually, I heard someone talking about the stats of how much either Tampa or Florida, I can't remember what you mentioned, sir, about the venture capital scene here, but I think you said about $200 million was invested last year. Chattanooga alone has $100 million being invested out of our city. And the Jump Fund has played a role in bringing more money to the table, but also bringing more potential investors to the table, more accredited investors to the table. And now those women that are writing checks and getting invested in companies are now starting to put their money in other places. And so if you want to think more or talk more about how to increase your investment scene here in Tampa, think about how to uniquely get out of the box and go find the people that are being untapped and ask them to write checks. But that also applies to your companies too. Take your companies to the next level, but you need to start hiring people that look very differently than you and that think very differently than you. So I greatly appreciate you listening to me, and if you have any questions, I'd love to talk to anyone afterward, and I'd also love to stay in touch with you. Please feel free to email me. Any companies looking for investment, please email me as well. Love to see your pitch deck, and That's it. Thank you so much.